Ok. Bonsoir, nous avons ce soir avec nous Maximus Peperkamp qui va nous parler d'une technique, je pense, qui est européenne, qui s'appelle de Listen While You Speak technique. Et l'interview va être en anglais, tandis que c'est la langue qu'il préfère. Maximus, merci de venir. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hello, Aline.
So we're going to do the interview in English, and I told them so. We're going to basically present what you teach to people. And since you have done this interview before, I think in radio, so it will be something that you have done, that you know how to present, I suppose.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so what we can do just to make things easier is give, let's say, maybe a live demonstration of what you teach.
Sure, sure, that is a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing maybe to tell us what's the purpose of your technique.
Okay, well, the listen while you speak technique is a way to improve verbal communication. We have many problems in our verbal communication when we talk with each other, and there's of course the problem of language itself, that we speak different languages, but there's actually a problem in the communication which we haven't really looked into yet. And according to me, the problem that we have in our communication is the fact that we are not really connected with ourselves as we communicate.
Or we're not connected to the person who's listening.
Well, that goes together, because if we are not connected with ourselves, we can also not connect with the person who's listening.
Okay.
And we assume many times that we are connecting with the person who's listening, and we forget that the person isn't listening because we are not in contact with ourselves.
Okay.
And this is a mechanical way of communicating that is preventing us from really, getting into contact with each other.
But how do you explain that some people can go on and on in some conversations?
Yeah.
Like next guest, he can really talk.
Okay.
And then sometimes a person can talk only 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, some people, they have, of course, people have many different habits, and these habits, they dominate the way they communicate. There is somebody that can be very rational in his communication, and somebody else is very emotional in his way of communicating. What I see, and what I see all the time with people, is that whether people are rational communicators, which means in that case they communicate with the right side of their body, non-verbally, they move their right hand, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the right side of the body connects with the left side of the brain.
Oh.
So if you move your right hand, you make a connection in the right side of the brain, and the hands are actually the extensions or the farthest distance of the brain. So if you reach out your hand like this, you are going very far into the rational side of your thinking. And by being like this all the time, people are being very rational, being very emphatic. And if you listen to this for a long time, if I talk at you like this, then at a certain moment you start to feel really uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
Because it is too much in control, it is too much rational, it is all about being emphatic, being on top of it, being in control. Whereas if you move to the left side, then you become more emotional in your communication. And there's a different sound that comes out when people move their left hand. And the more they move with their left hand, the more emotional sound is coming out, and the more non-verbally they express something emotional.
But usually you hold the telephone with your right hand.
Yeah.
Therefore, the only thing you can move is the left.
Yeah. Well, it is a matter of choice. You would also maybe be able to listen with the left side.
Oh, I see.
And to talk with your right side, or you can even talk with your or listen with the left side and talk with the left side.
But but that has nothing to do. Moving your hand one side or the other doesn't control what you're going to say.
No, it is not. It is not what you say, but it is how you say it. And my whole method is an approach which teaches people that communication improves once they are more aware of how they are saying things. because communication is creating all kind of problems for us, because we are not aware of the fact that we have a certain sound and that we have a certain non-verbal impact. Now, this non-verbal impact is much bigger than the verbal impact. It seems even to be so that words only determine 10% of how you come across.
Oh.
So the rest is all non-verbal, and the non-verbal is body language, and the body creates a certain sound. If I am totally one-sided in my body language, yeah, like the rational communicator is, then you only hear this rational, stressful voice.
Okay, but
and if you are an emotional communicator, then you are totally on the left, and then you are always communicating from an emotional side, which is sounding like oh.
Yeah, but what our goal is to be effective.
Yeah. Well.
So what is the most effective?
Well, to be most effective means that the voice is actually expressing the balance between the activity in the left side, the right side of the brain, as well as the left side of the brain. So it means a combination of rationality and emotionality. And many times, because of our habit, we are dominantly rational communicators or emotional communicators, and in this way we are not in balance.
So you think, about length, you think the people who are emotional talk more in what they want to say? And
Where?
do they talk more?
Where?
The people who are emotional, do they talk more?
No. There is this division in rational and emotional communicators, but no matter what kind of habits people have, we also have a lot of habits in common. And so a rational communicator as well as an emotional communicator can both be very wordy or very lengthy.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they are?
No. And as a matter of fact, there is 3 basic communication habits which we almost all have, which have to do with this. For instance, and I like to show this to you, I have brought a little gong with me, and this gong represents the sound of our natural voice. Now, if I just simply give one beat on this gong, this resonant, calm sound. This resonant sound is the sound which represents our relaxed voice.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
But if we look at our habits, we don't sound like this at all. And of course you can sound calm, you can sound a little bit more intense, and you can sound very loud, and still the sound is resonant. There is nothing squeezing the sound. The sound is still round, the sound can still flow. Now, we have habits which prevent our sound from sounding authentic. Now, I have these pins here, and I put this first pin on the gong, and this first pin represents our tendency to always focus and fixate on the words.
Okay.
So when we talk, we think, and our thinking is conditioned in that way, we think that all communication is about words. And because of that, we put a pin on our gong, because our voice is only expressing the mental frequency range. You get that?
No, not really, but
well, when we are only focusing on the thoughts and on the words, then communication is only a bunch of words, blah, 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 and we don't experience anything.
Okay.
And when you communicate, you also experience something.
Okay.
You see something, you hear something, and when you hear something, you must listen.
Okay.
Now, when you only communicate fixated on the words, then you don't listen. Then you only think about the communication.
Okay.
So when we only think about the communication, our voice starts to sound not so good anymore, right? So this is the first pin. This is the fixation on the words. When you fixate on the words, obviously you are just only in your head. You're only thinking about the communication. And then you close off from your body.
Right.
So the body doesn't communicate. And because the body doesn't communicate, the body protests, because the body is there when you communicate. And when the body is protesting because you are disconnecting from the body, then the sound of the voice is not as good anymore. And non-verbally, this body communicates a message which goes against the content of what you're trying to say.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So there's this fixation on words. Then another big issue in our communication is that we think, and again, our thinking is conditioned by the way we are used to communicate. We think that communication has to do with making contact with the other. We already said that before. If I want to make contact with you, or if I want to make contact with my audience, and if I don't know that I'm not in contact with myself, then how am I going to make contact with you or with my audience? So the very fact that I'm outward oriented to sell you, for instance, or to teach you, or to I don't know, to be a parent to my kid, or to be a spouse to my wife. You know, I'm always, if I don't watch out, there's always an outward orientation, the orientation on the other person, and the orientation on the other person doesn't allow me to acknowledge that I'm not really in contact with myself. And because we're so outward oriented in our daily life, in our work, in our relationships, we're always busy with the other person. We're always looking at the other. Will you get it? Will you understand it? Do you give me the right kind of attention and all these things? So the outward orientation is a very big issue because of which we disconnect with ourselves.
Okay.
We don't look into it normally, and this is part of my training. Now, the third one is also a pin on the gong, and the third one represents the battle and the struggle for attention.
Oh, okay.
Well, you must have come across this, that it is very difficult to interfere with people. It's very difficult to get your foot in the door, so to speak. People just keep talking at you, and because they're so eager to say what they want to say, but in fact they are battling for attention. In fact, they are just so much da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because they think, if I don't say it quickly enough, then somebody won't listen to me anymore.
Oh.
And they also anticipate on the things that you are going to say when I have said it. And even before I've said it, I'm already thinking in my head about something that you are going to say as a reaction. So anticipating on that, I'm communicating from an inward battle of attention. Now, this battle, the struggle for attention, has become the basis of all our communication.
Okay.
So people all over the place, in politics, in schools, in relationships, everybody is battling for the attention. And when we battle for attention, when we are only outward oriented, and when we fixate on words, then this is how our voices sound. Does that ring a bell?
No,
Do you?
it changed the resonance of the thing.
It does, right? Well, this sound is the sound of our communication that we are used to. This sound, this mechanical sound in which we don't resonate exactly, in which we become mechanical, in which we become cut off from who we are. This sound is creating problems. If we speak with this sound, we wear each other out. We become very tired of this kind of communication. However, if we go beyond these words, if we go beyond the outward fixation, if we go beyond the battle for attention, then our voice starts to sound resonant. And by sounding resonant, the communication improves. All of a sudden, we start to listen again. All of a sudden, the communication becomes an experience. And then, as the communication becomes an experience, the words are connected, the verbal becomes connected with the non-verbal. And this is the listen while you speak technique. That you listen to yourself while you speak. And because of that, your words are carried by your non-verbal communication. And this improves the way you come across.
Okay.
Just by sounding resonant.
So for people that you train, you advise them to record themselves?
No. In fact, I'm not so much for recording your voice, because what does a recording mean? One of the things with recording your voice is that when people record their voice,
they found that it's lousy and they try to improve it.
Well, you hear yourself very differently on a recording than in the reality, which has to do with the fact that you hear yourself through bone connection as you speak, which is a direct experience. It is physical vibration of your voice in your body. And it's only 20% of how you perceive your own sound is through your ears.
Okay.
So when you have an audio recording of yourself, you always have this estranging effect. Now, when you listen to an audio recording of yourself...
So basically what you're saying is you listen to yourself, not to the other person.
Exactly.
Okay.
When you listen to yourself, that is going to improve your communication, and this is what is going to help you listen to the other person.
Okay.
Because if you don't listen to yourself, you cannot listen to the other person. In fact, people fake it that they are listening to each other. They are thinking about what the other person says. They are ready to jump on them. The moment they finished saying what they had to say, they are ready with all their words there, you know. The words that they were already thinking when the person was still talking.
Okay.
And this way of talking, in which they were not listening but thinking about the communication, is not an experience. This is what disconnects people from the experience. And this is also what prevents people from having contact with themselves to begin with, and then also from establishing contact with each other.
And to improve that technique, you advise people to kind of listen when they talk to themselves.
Yes, exactly.
And if they feel that they sound low or too high, then they should tone it, or...
No. Many times people have all kinds of judgments about their voice.
Yeah.
And for instance, when they relax, then they suddenly say like, oh, I sound very low now. They don't have a clue. When they sound, in their idea, low, they sound relaxed. Somebody else that will listen to them will say, hey, that sounds much better. But for your own opinion, your own judgment is many times like, oh, I sound not like how I usually sound. We are so used to the habit of sounding hyped up. We're so imprisoned in the communication which is determined by words, which is determined by the other also. We are so used to fulfill the requirement of external circumstances in the communication that we are unaware that we're all the time losing contact with who we really are.
Okay, but if you listen to yourself, then you speak slower, isn't that correct?
Maybe you do, but maybe you don't. Maybe you speed up.
Okay, so do you advise to talk at the speed of the person you're talking to?
I don't advise people anything except listening to themselves. You will find for yourself what works. For some people, there is an effective improvement by speaking faster. For some people, for instance, the people that are dominant right-handed, if they're always habituated to be rational, then they're always in control. They're always masculine, so to speak. For these people, it would be very good to somehow sit back a little bit, to relax, to let go of the control. Then their communication will relax. For the person who's always relaxed, who's always waiting, receptive, emotional, for such a person, it would be very good to be more in control. So in this person's case, I would activate the right side. So it is having to do, my coaching and my training is having to do with the activation of the inactive body language, left or right.
What about me? I have my hands crossed. I'm not activating anything.
I know. But maybe this is one of your ways of communicating. And I'm not saying that there's anything right.
So I'm not emotional and I'm not rational. I'm neither one.
Well, you are maybe right about that. Because your way of non-verbally expressing yourself is very neutral, exactly. And if you want to make good communication with somebody, you don't necessarily want to be neutral. Sometimes, if you want to make something clear, you want to be writing with the white on the blackboard, you know? You know what I'm saying? So you want to be emphatic and determined and precise and exact and deliberate, but at the same time, you want to create a contact and you want to establish and continue the contact. So you can use both sides. And if you really consciously choose for either side, you are creating a contrast in the communication which enables people to also make up their mind, to make a choice. Whereas if the communication is coming from a point of view of,
I'm listening.
Yeah, just a neutral space, then everything is actually with me, and this is kind of also an imbalance then, because I would of course also like to communicate with you.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you would, for instance, either come out with a rational side or with an emotional side, that would create more communication with me.
Oh yeah.
And by doing that, we would also be able to determine what is your rational side or what is your emotional side.
Yeah, but I was listening to you because I thought your technique was for me to learn to listen, but that's not at all it.
Well, it has to do with listening, but it also has to do with movement.
Mm-hmm.
And movement is very important in order to be more of a listener.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't move, for instance, in the old days, people were just walking, right? If you really walk and communicate, then you have a much better communication because you are already both going in the same direction.
Okay.
But we are in a culture that sits behind tables, in rooms, in classes, and we sit and we have to communicate. So how do we walk the talk as we communicate? The way to do that is to move our body. And if I may be so kind, I'm an expert in this, and I can tell what is your dominant side in your communication.
None. I'm not moving anything.
Well, it has not so much to do with with the fact whether you are or are not moving. I can pretty sure determine what is your active side and what is your inactive side, and by moving in either way, you can either improve or miss out on the communication, and there is of course always both possibilities.
So you can correct me even if I'm not moving?
Yes. Your communication, for instance, at this moment would improve if you would be moving more to the right side.
This way?
Yes.
You mean my body?
Yes.
Like that?
Yes.
So I'm not too rational to do.
No, this is actually attaining a more rational communication.
So okay. So my communication is not too very rational.
There is still a lot of at this moment your left hand, which you have over your right hand, is actually expressing the dominance of the emotional side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would like you to completely relax this one. Yeah, just lay it here. Don't activate it at all, and just make this right hand as active as possible. Really like this is it. You know, this is how we're going to have a good communication.
Yeah, but I have nothing to communicate.
Doesn't matter. Even when you have nothing to communicate, what you are saying...
Oh, by moving my hand, I emphasize it?
Yes, by emphasizing it, it will increase your rapport with with a person like me.
Okay, and basically, would that make you more comfortable?
It would make me more comfortable, exactly.
Really?
Yes, and and not just only me, but anybody that would sit here.
Okay, and so I should relax the left a little bit more?
Yeah. No, don't do anything with the left side.
Okay.
Make the right side active.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is the deactivation of the habit side, and it is the activation of the inactive side.
And that will also work with my brain?
And then your rational brain, this side of your brain, that will start to become more part of the communication.
Okay.
You will be more in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you will be more going out.
Okay.
You will be less receptive, but more on top of it, more
Okay.
into the communication.
So you're talking about right-handed people at this point.
No, no, no. It has nothing to do with right or left-handed people.
What does it have to do?
This has to do with the way you move your body in your communication.
Oh, okay.
And there are left-handed people who are right-handed communicators.
Okay, if a person is left-handed, they also have to do the same thing? It has nothing to do? Is their brain different too?
There is a relationship there, but that is not.
That's not the one.
That is not what I'm talking about right now.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
so basically.
Do you see that you want to move your left hand? That it is difficult for you to keep the left hand inactive?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm more emotional than rational.
Yes, yes. And by just deliberately choosing for this right hand.
Yeah.
And really sculpting your communication and really saying like, this is what I want to say, you can have an impact in your communication which for you is very unusual.
Oh, okay. Now, the kind of communication you're talking
do?
about is
Yeah.
for regular communication, like two people having dinner,
yeah.
or
everywhere.
or sales.
Everywhere, under
Okay.
all circumstances.
On all
Yes.
levels.
Yes.
Okay. So when you coach people, it's on all level, correct?
Yes.
And I am too left-sided. Okay.
And you would really start to notice the difference if you really keep this one inactive and if you would activate that right side. It feels a bit strange.
And will that change the way I talk too?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So it's a matter of being conscious of it.
Yeah, you become very conscious about your own voice because of this, because the habit keeps you in a mechanical way of communicating that you're used to.
Okay.
And this activation of the new side kind of takes you out of the habit and puts you really right there in a new way of communicating.
Okay, I think you have said the most important thing, and they're just telling me to wrap it up.
Okay.
So I appreciate whatever introduction you gave us. I'm sure there's a lot more to say.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think I learned something today, so I thank you for being here, and I hope it also was good for the people listening to learn what you have to say.
Thank you.
So I thank you very much. So this was Maximus Peperkamp, the Listen While You Speak technique, and it's listening to yourself and not to the other.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.